Hello. Today we're on my yoga mat because I thought we could explore design and its relationship to exercise and to the body in general, and design, especially design schools. So I was reading an article this morning that described the importance of physical activity in any school that you might want to invent, and it just made me think that this would be a good way to explore some of the books that we've already talked about and some new books. So the first one I'm going to return to is The Spirit of the Bauhaus. So a very good book about the history of the Bauhaus. And one of the kind of funnier things is that in 1919, Johannes Itten was a professor of art and color at the school, and he created this big schism in the student body because he believed in, and I'm going to have to read this, the Mazdaznan movement, which is, quote, the doctrine that required exercises based on breathing and physical rhythms and also advocated vegetarianism. I also know that this is in amongst kind of bits of fasting that they would do, both him and his students, where they would not eat anything for 3 days, but they would only drink fruit juice. And apparently that just created a terrible smell. And so there were those who followed Eaton's philosophies and those who didn't. And eventually it became such a problem that he had to leave. So I think it's one of the interesting little tidbits about the Bauhaus to make you explore more, hopefully. The next one is also a return to a book, which is the Shaolin Malinois biography. And they were very wealthy, but they also were very interested in exercise, and they were very interested in their own well-being, but also as a part of, I think, the theatricality of their lives in general. These were not normal people. They were extremely wealthy, and they ended up having on site, they got themselves made a swimming pool. They also were using what were called German wheels, which at the time even Vogue magazine covered. And these little costumes, or these sort of striped costumes that they had, actually they would give to all of their guests, because all of their guests were invited to exercise when they came to visit. So it sort of became this, in a way, again, kind of quite theatrical thing to do for the wealthy and for people around those circles. And so both the swimming pool and also these costumes were used in some of the films that Cocteau did, and other artists. There was a film created called Les Bijoux et les Biceps, which are biceps and jewelry, which is interesting. And this is all in the late 20s. It's quite a while ago. A little bit later on, in the early 40s, comes a school which I will definitely return to, but not today, called Black Mountain College. And Black Mountain College was an art college in North Carolina, and it housed some of the leading modern artists and choreographers and musicians that really came into their own in the 60s and 70s, but they sort of studied during the 40s and 50s in this school. And the campus itself was actually built by the students and by the teachers, because it was very important that you were involved in making the thing that you were making. And if it was architecture, it was architecture. So this is the building that the whole student body and the faculty built. I've not been there yet. It's on my list of things to do when we can go places, which is not now. And then I finally end with this really lovely little publication called Work, Body, Leisure. It's an article about the body as seen through the eyes of computers. And so the body as a choice of bodies that you can make in CAD and in CAD environments. So in these environments, you get to choose these sort of personas, let's say. And this article explores how these personas are built, why they're built the way they are, what are the models behind the measurements? Like, what assumptions can you make that this is an average person, and it's an average person of what gender, and how have you decided that? So the politics of all of that is explored in this article. Simone Niquil is the author, and the article is kind of misleading because it's actually much more interesting, but what does the graphical user interface want? So not exercise, but the body and the way in which it's perceived by design, in design and in design interfaces. And with that, namaste.